So, today we are going to be doing dividing by a two-digit divide with a two-digit divisor. Okay, so this is going to be the standard way. We're not doing anything crazy. It is just repeating what we've done before. So remember, yesterday we talked about it a little bit, right? So whenever I divide using the standard algorithm, am I dividing any differently than I would whenever I do regular long division without decimals? Raise your hand. Okay. No, I'm dividing just like normal. I have not changed long division. Long division is the same process, okay? So today we're going to focus on doing it with two-digit divisors. So this is supposed to be a focus in just regular long division too, which we already kind of talked about, right? So today we're going to walk through a couple of examples and look at what it's supposed to look like. Here, I'm going to okay, so the annual rainfall in Greenville is 4 32 inches. What is the average monthly rainfall in Greenville? So it already has your equation there for you, right? Okay. So first I need to share my ones place, right? And can I divide 12 into 4? No, that's not how it works. So I went ahead and I already have my zeros here. So 4 minus 0 is what? 4. Okay, from here, what's going to happen?
Bring down your 3.
I'm going to have to bring down my 3. I'm going to copy that 4 here, right? I kind of hate how sometimes it's split up like that, right? So now I'm dividing 43 tenths by 12. 43 tenths by 12. So how many times can I fit 12 into 43? Joseph.
3 times?
3 times, do we agree?
Yes.
Okay. 12 times 3 is equal to what?
36.
Right. 36. So remember, I multiplied 12 times 3. Then I'm subtracting 43 and 36. Whenever I do this, can I subtract 6 from 3?
Yeah.
No, I cannot. So I have to borrow, right? And this becomes 13. 13 minus 6 is what? What is it? 7. So then 3 minus 3 is 0, so I'm left with 7 tenths, right? And I cannot divide 12 into 7, right? And do I still have a remaining number over here? Do I still have another number to the right?
Yes.
Yes, I do. So what am I going to have to do, y'all? I'm going to have to bring it down. So remember, I already have this. My 7 is here, right? And my 3 was in that second place above the other 3. So now I bring down my 2, and now I'm going to divide how many hundredths? Liam.
72.
7,200 hundredths. 7,200 hundredths divided by 12. So how many 12s can I fit into 72? Natalie. 6. Is that an even number? Yes. So 12 times 6 is what? Should be obvious. What is it? 72, right? So then I'm subtracting 7,200 minus 7,200 to get what? 0. 0 And I can't divide that equally among 12 groups because I'm done. I've run out of numbers in my dividend. And I ended with 0 as my remainder. So I don't have to add any extra zeros at the end like we did yesterday, right? So, do I just leave it as 36?
No.
No. What do I have to do to determine where my decimal goes in my number? Maddie.
You have to do 0 and 36 hundredths.
Right, so 0 and 36 hundredths. Can you see why?
Yeah. Because you you don't know where you can't put the decimal in between the 3 and the 6 because that would,
What about my dividend tells me what my quotient should look like?
it does. It says it on the thing. It, on the answer we earned 36 in the blue blank.
Okay, well, Elizabeth, can you help her out a little bit?
There's 2 numbers, behind the decimal.
So there were 2 numbers behind the decimal in my dividend. So because I have 2 numbers behind the decimal in my dividend, first I need to look to my divisor. Do I have any digits behind a decimal in my divisor?
No.
No. So whatever my dividend has is going to match what's in my quotient here because I don't have any behind my divisor. So I have 2 digits in my dividend. Therefore, my answer, my quotient, will have 2 behind the decimal. Okay. So let's move on. Another way, but we're going to use estimation. Okay. So we've already done estimation previously, right? So we're going to divide it like whole numbers. Remember that's the whole point, right? Is that we're understanding that we're dividing like we would regular whole numbers here. The only things that change are the quotient will have a decimal, and if we run out of, if we have a remainder, I can actually add a 0 at the end to not change my value and to create a full number based off of that, right? So here, you're going to estimate our quotient to be 4,000 hundredths, right? Because my last place here would be the what place? What place is the last place that's listed here? Who can tell me? Bryce. It's the hundredths place. So if I wrote this number out as a whole number, right? This number would be 4,089 hundredths. Okay. So I'm going to round that, and that rounds down because 4 doesn't get changed by 0, right? 0 makes it stay the same. So I rounded to 4,000 hundredths. So then I'm going to divide it by 50 because I know that 47, my 7 makes my 4 do what? It goes up by 1. So it becomes 50. And I know that 40, right, and 5 are common factors, right? They're a factor family, right? So if I divide 4 by 5, 40 by 5, that would give me 8. So those are friendly numbers, right? Because I know that I can divide those 2 numbers and get 80 instead. Or, because we know that it's in hundredths, right? 80 cents. So then we need to divide the tenths, right? Okay, so we're gonna do it like normal, right? So we already estimated my quotient. So now I'm gonna divide them each individually. So I'm gonna do it regular. Like I'm gonna do it standard. Okay. So now, remember, I'm going to start with that first number. Can I do that? Can I divide 47 into 4? No, I cannot. I have to shift over. Oh, but I see a problem here. What's my problem here? Layla. I can't divide 47 into 40 either because 47 is bigger than 40. So I have to shift over one more time. And now I'm doing it into 408. Okay? So what do you think would be close? Well, we have an estimate already, right? Do you think that 8 might be a good estimate to multiply by 47 to get my answer here? Do you think I could multiply 47 by 8? Well, but I got 8 in my 10th place earlier. Yeah. So why wouldn't 8 make sense over here in my 10th place here? You want to try it? I'm going to try it, okay? I'm going to try 47 times 8. So I know that 8 times 7 is what? 56. I also know that 4 times 8 is 32. 32 plus 5. Okay. 32 plus 5 is what? 37, right? So is that close to 408?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty close. So do you think that maybe we should check 47 times 9 just to be sure? I want to make sure that I don't want to make sure that I underestimate here because 7 times 9 is what? 63. 4 times 9 is 36 plus 6. 42. Now is that too much?
Yeah.
Yes, it is because it's greater than 408. So I have to use 8 in my tens place. Okay? So I already know that answer. 47 times 8 was 376. And now I'm going to subtract. 8 minus 6 is what? 2. Can I subtract 7 from 0? I have to do what? Borrow. This becomes a 10, that becomes a 3. 10 minus 7 is? Okay? 3 minus 3 is what? So I'm going to bring down that 9. What do we see going on here? What do we see? Can I do 47 times 8 again? No, right? Because 329 is less than 376. So I think that we should try multiplying by what? 7. Okay? So now I'm going to multiply 47 times 7. 7 times 7 is 49. 4 times 7 is 4 times 7? 28 plus 4. 32, right? You were thinking ahead. Good job, Layla, right? Because I know that if I'm adding 4, it's the same as multiplying 4 times 8, right? So what do you notice about that number? It's the same. I'm going to subtract those and I'm going to get 0. So am I done dividing? If my remainder is 0 and I don't have any other numbers to the right, I'm done. Okay? So whenever I finally divided it all the way across, right, how do I figure out where my decimal goes? Because this has a decimal in my dividend, so I need to have it in my quotient too. I'm going to take those. Maddie.
Because there's 2 numbers behind the decimal.
There's 2 numbers behind my decimal in my dividend, so I'm going to have the same thing happen in my quotient because my divisor doesn't have any digits behind the decimal here. So my answer is going to be 87 what? Is it just 87 hundredths or is it 87 what? What was I using? What was my units? Bryce. It's cents, right? Because it was in money, right? So let's talk about this. How are we using the estimate to place the decimal point in the quotient? How did my estimate help me with my quotient and how I place my decimal? Leah.
You told us it was the hundreds. So
it told me that it was in the hundredths place, right? It told me, and my estimate was 80 cents, right? Because if I use money terms, is that close to my estimate?
Yes.
Yes, it is, right? It's only 7 cents away from being the exact same number, right? So I use my estimate by looking at what place I'm in to solve and figure out where my decimal goes. So one thing, so what I'm gonna write that, and then I'm also gonna tell you a different way as well. So I noticed
you used to like
estimate was in the hundredths place. That's one thing, right? The second thing I want to write is that I know that the estimate, so I already know the estimate was 80 cents, so I know the decimal has to be placed to the left of the 8. So the decimal was to the left of the 80 cents. So it's just saying that in my rounded answer, I knew that my decimal was in front of my 8. So in my answer, my actual answer, I know that my decimal is going to also be to the left of the 8. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's do a couple more problems and talk about it. Okay. Because remember, this is just repetition at this point. Yes, Presley. Estimate. Okay. So I'm going to scoot it up a little bit. And I'm going to look at number 1 here. So this one already kind of gives you something to look at, right? So it says to estimate the quotient. So if I divide 40 tenths by 20, what do I get? 9. 2, right? So now let's actually solve this problem right here. Okay. So can I divide 18 into 4? Can't do that, right? 18 is way too big to divide into 4. Now what about 18 into 46? Can I do that?
Yes.
Yes. How many times can I fit 18 into 46? How many times can I fit 18 into 46? Yeah.
2 times.
2 times? Is that the max I can do? Well, 18 times 2 is what?
36.
So I definitely can't add another 18, right? Because if I add another 18, what do I get? I get 50. Or what is 54? Yeah. I get 54. So that's too big, so I have to do 18 times 2, and my 2 is going to go above my 6. So now I know what 18 times 2 is, and that's 36. So what is that going to, whenever I subtract those two, what am I going to get? 10, right? But am I done? No. I'm left with 108. So I'm going to say that I noticed something, right? I noticed that 18 is a factor of what? What can I multiply together to get 18? What 2 numbers can I multiply together to get 18? 8. 9 and 2, right? So what else is a factor of 108? But can you multiply 9 to get 108 somewhere?
Yes.
I can, right? What times 9 gets me 108? Jason. 12, right? So think about this. 18 is double 9, right? 18 is double 9, right? It's twice of 9. And if I multiply 9 by 12 to get 108, maybe I multiply 18 times, what do you think? Think if I doubled it to get the answer, I would have to do what? What's the opposite of double? Opposite. Opposite. Multiplying is double. Dividing is, it would be half. Like I'm trying to get to half. Okay.
Give and take.
So it's called give and take. Okay. So let's try 18 times. What do you think? What would be half of 12? What's half of 12? Joseph, 6. So I'm going to try multiplying 18 times 6. 8 times 6 is what? 8 times 6 is what, y'all? 48. 6 times 1 is plus 4. Oh my goodness gracious, look at what we just did. How cool is that? Right? So I use my knowledge of my basic factors to reasonably make a guess about what's going to go up here. So am I going to have to add any extra zeros behind it? Because I have a remainder of what? 0. So what is my actual answer though here? Is it 26? No, it's not 26. Remember, my digits behind the decimal and my dividend have to match my quotient. So, what is my answer, Jason? 0 and 2600. Awesome, awesome. Did we see the pattern there? I thought that was a really cool way to talk about it. Do we like how we talked about that? There's no reasoning, right? If I have information, if I know my factors, I can use that to my advantage whenever I'm dividing, right? Yes, I am recording. Okay. So let's get class 4. Class. Okay. So I'm gonna do honestly we'll do 2 and 4 and then we'll do some word problems, okay? So look here. I'm looking at number 2, right? I know that I definitely cannot divide 23 into 5, right? That is unreasonable. So I need to shift over and look at what? 52. Okay? So how many times can 23 go into 52? See, well, how do I know that? Well, I know that 2 25s can go into 50, right? So 23 is less than that. So surely I can fit 2 23s in 52, right? At least that was my reason. Okay, 23 times 2, what is that? Okay, well, I can't subtract 6 from 2, right? So I have to borrow, that becomes a 4, that becomes a 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. And I have to bring down my 5, so I'm left with 69. So, 23. What 23 do you think might get you to 69? Why did you pick 3? You're not talking. What?
23 times 3 is 69.
Well, I mean, that's correct, right? Because 3 times 3 is 9, and 2 times 3 is 6. So it is clearly going to be 69 is the answer. And it's going to divide evenly, right? I get the same answer. I get a 0. But am I done? No. What do I still need to do? I still need to have what in my quotient? Decimals. My decimals. But do I just put it in front of the 2 because I feel like it? Nope. Where did I? 4. Okay. How does that 9 means no adjournment? Okay. Behave yourself, please, Jason. Okay. So look, where is it gonna go? Where is my decimal gonna go? Okay, where is it gonna go? It is gonna go between the 2 and the 3 because I also have 1 digit behind the decimal in my dividend, and there's nothing to my divisor, so therefore I have to have that 1 in my quotient. Okay. Let's jump to number 4 real quick. And then we will look at some word problems, okay? Okay, we're not complaining. Okay, so 42 divided into 30, or into 3 is possible, right? What about 31? Nope, can't. Now I'm stuck with 315. 42 into 315. How do I do that? Well, what should be, where do we think we should start? Liam, what do you think?
7 times.
7 times? Why do you think 7 times?
Because 2 42s are 84.
Okay.
And if you minus that from 400, that can't, that doesn't make that's higher than 315. So
Okay.
we don't know it's going to be 7.
So he used his reasoning of what he knows about his factors to determine that. He said, so you're thinking about multiplying it like in doubles, right? So you're doubling it over and over again to get to 8, and multiplying by 8 would be
Too much.
too much. It'd be 420, you said? Or sorry, not 400.
It would be it's 38, 36, 336.
Okay.
It'd be 336.
So let's try 42 times 7 because I need to have my answer right. So 7 times 2 is
14.
14. 4 times 7 is plus 1. Okay. That's less than 315, and I don't think I can fit another 42 in there to be less than 315, right? So I'm going to put my 7 above my 10th place, right? My 5. 42 times 7 was 294, right? So now I need to subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. Can I subtract 9 from 1?
No.
Nope, I got to borrow. It becomes 11. 11 minus 9 is
2.
2 minus 2 is 0. So what do I do now?
Bring down a 0.
I bring down my 0. Ooh. I see a familiar number. Does anybody else see the familiar number? No, not a 1. Well, I know that 42 is a factor of what? 8. 7. I also know that 21 is also a factor of 7. So what do you think might be a reasonable answer for this answer right here? What? 5. Why 5? Well, what is our answer ending right now? 0. A 0. So there is no way that it could be anything other than a 5 or a 10. And we can multiply it by that's divided up. So 42 times 5 is what? 210. So I'm going to get 0. Am I done dividing?
Yes.
I am. But is my answer finished? No. I have 75, but where does my decimal need to go? Right.
Before the 7.
Before the 7 because I have 2 digits in my dividend. I don't have any in my divisor, so I need to have 2 in my quotient. Okay? You doing good? Paul? Okay. So let's look at a word problem on the back of this page. The daily assessment task. Okay?
Oh no.
Because I want us to talk about how we read word problems and talk through them. Okay? So, a scientist conducting a dig spent $36.95 on 23 packets of hand wipes for her team of volunteers. What was the price of each packet? So remember, I have $37.95, and I'm dividing that into 23 packets, right? So I have to split that amount to find the price of each packet. Remember, whenever I see the word each in my question, that tends to mean that I'm going to divide. Okay? It tends to mean it. Is that in every single time? Okay? However, in this particular question, it means that I'm going to divide. I'm dividing 37.95 in by 23, right? So before I even solve this problem, can I go and can I see there's some answers that I know are automatically not going to be correct? Which ones are not going to be correct? Now they're pretty obvious. Okay, A and B. Why are those unreasonable? Why are A and B completely unreasonable? Liam, why are they unreasonable?
Because if you just multiply 10 times 16, that would be 160, but it was only 36.
Right. So remember, imagine I round this number to 20, right? And if I multiply 20 by 16, am I going to be 37? No, 100, right? That does not make any sense when I only spent a total of $37.95. Now, if I were adding, perhaps, but in this case, that's not what's happening here. I am dividing, so I can automatically cross out A and B. So now I have to actually do the division to prove and solve my answer here. So I'm going to write it out over to the side here. Okay. So my answer choices kind of give me a starting place, right? It kind of gives me what my answer might look like. So I know I can't divide 23 into 3. So I have to look at 37. 37 fit in, or 23 fit into 37.
Yes.
Yes, it can. How many times? 1, right? 23 times 1 is what? 23. 7 minus 3 is? 4. 3 minus 2 is? 1. So am I done?
No.
What do I do now?
Bring down.
From here, 23 into 149. I think we're going to have an idea of what my answer might be. What's the next step? What do you think? I have 2 ideas of what that could be. And they're the same. Kaylee, what number do you think is I'm going to multiply by 23? Look at your answer choices here. It's very obvious. What's in my 10th place? Not 1, I already have 1. 10th place. 6. Okay? 23 times 6, what is that?
I know.
6 times 3 is? 18. 2 times 6 is? 2 times 6 is? Plus 1? Hey, 138. So now I'm going to subtract. 9 minus 8 is? 4 minus 3 is? 1 minus 1 is? I don't have to write that here, okay? And then I can bring down my 5. Now, the question is, which answer is going to be more reasonable? Think about what I have to multiply by 3 to get it. A number that ends in a 5. Is it going to be a 0 or is it going to be a 5? 5, because if I multiply by a 0, what is my answer going to be at the end every time? 0. So the 0 does not make sense. The 5 is the only thing that makes sense. So I multiply 23 times 5 and get what? No. 115, giving you a remainder of 0. So, where does my decimal go? Where does my decimal go? The 1 and B. And my answer is 165. E. We both stop talking. By having this video, I have proof of y'all's misbehavior. Cut it out. I'm going to take it to Dr. Shin. Okay. Number 12. Farmer Lee grows tomatoes and squash. He harvests 49 and 9,200 kilograms of tomatoes. And then 65 and 92 kilograms of squash. He distributes the tomatoes and squash into 32 farm share baskets. So how many more kilograms? Ooh, I see a key word there. 4 kilograms of squash and tomatoes does each basket contain. So what is my order of operations here? What am I going to have to do? What am I going to have to do? What do you think? Liam.
Divide and then subtract.
So I'm going to have to divide, I'm going to have to subtract. Okay? So, do I divide, do I add those numbers together first, or what do I do? Like, can y'all help me out? What do I have to do first? I divide what? Do I divide the combination of them together, or do I divide them separately? Separately. Okay. So I'm going to divide 49 and 9,200 kilograms by 32 first. I divide 32 into 4. No. 32 into 49.
Yes.
Yes. How many times? 1. 32 times 1 is?
32.
32. I subtract. 9 minus 2 is? 4 minus 3 is? 1. I bring down my 9. Now, 32 divided by, 32 into 179. What might be my answer? What do you think? Right. Wait, what? What numbers?
Oh, what number? I think the answer is
No. The number.
I want number multiplying into that.
You think it's 5?
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We agree.
Yes.
Okay. 2 times 5 is 10, right? I carry my 1. 3 times 5 is 15, plus my 1 is 16, right? 9 minus 0 is 9. 7 minus 6 is 1 minus 1 is. Now I have 192 because I bring down my 2. Now, what do you think might be the number that I multiplied with 32 to get to 192? I think it's pretty simple. Pretty simple. 6. Why?
Because we didn't see the last answer.
Well, but who's going to be my answer though? Because I have only just barely started. I've only done one part of my problem. So I see that 160, if I add 32 to 160 because I multiply by 100, I know that my answer is going to be equal to 192. Which is subtractive gets here. So where did my decimal go in my answer here? Where? Where?
Between the 1 and the 5.
Between the 1 and the 5. Because I have 2 digits in my dividend, so I need to have 2 digits in my quotient because my divisor has 9.
Yes.
It's now letter C. What else do I have to do? I've only done the tomatoes, but I need to figure out the difference between the tomatoes and squash. So now I have to divide the squash into 32. Now here, 32 into 6, I say, no, or I can't do that. 65. Can I do 32 into 65?
Yeah.
How many times? 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. 65 minus 64 is what? What? I'm bringing down my 9. Oh. So can I divide 32 into 19?
No.
But what do I do? Do I just leave it blank?
No.
What do I do? I put a what?
0.
A 0. Because I can't fit 32 into 19. So I have to multiply the number by 0 because I can't divide it evenly. 0 is 0. And I subtract, right? And I'm left with 192. Ooh, I know that number. I've seen that number before. But I divided by 32 earlier. I got what? 6. 32 times 6 is 192, which is 0. So now where does my decimal go here? 90.
It goes in between the 2 and the 0.
Boom. 2 and a 0. What have I done?
No.
Is that the answer? Kilograms of squash is better than tomatoes. What I
Subtract.
subtract 2. Because those are my 2 ones individually. I'm going to subtract 2 and 6 hundredths minus 1 and 56 hundredths. I'm going to line up my decimals. I kind of did a little bit sloppy there. I apologize. 6 minus 6 is what? 0. 0 minus 5, can I do that?
No.
That becomes 10. This becomes 8. 1. 10 minus 5 is? 1 minus 1 is? 0. Where does my decimal go? I bring it down. So, the difference is what? What is my difference, Joseph? 5/10 of a kilogram. What is this answer right here? I don't know. If you added them. Can't add them. It's how much more? So I have to subtract. We follow?
Yes.
Okay. Good job, y'all, today. We are going to read history. From here. Yes.